In this episode, we're chatting about being a relationship-centric, obsessed, focused woman. And it is about healing and recovering from using relationships as a distraction from our own inner healing work. This goes for all relationships, and we have to take ownership of our unhealthy tendencies to do this if we ever want to end up in a more reciprocal, balanced relationship, as well as having our own lives, having our own success, taking care of our own house and our own mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health and career path and our mission and our purpose and finding meaning. That is 100% our side of the street. And so many women, I've worked with so many women over the past 11 years in my counseling and then coaching practice, the last 6 years working with women specifically in toxic narcissistic relationships. If you've been around here for a while, you know, but this may be your first time. So just a quick overview is that is what I've been doing for the last 6 years, is working specifically with women who are trying to get clarity and get out of one of these relationships. And the one thing that they all have in common is the women are 100% focused on their partner, what their partner's doing, what the partner's not doing, how they're controlling them, how they're taking their power away, the things that they're doing, and trying to fix them and change them and get them to understand, rather than taking all of that energy that is being used as a distraction and turning it towards self. Starting to build our own self-love, our own sense of self-worth, rather than pouring all of our energy, focus, attention into getting someone to change, which is our own dysfunction. Where do we ever get the idea that we have the power to make somebody change? And when we are healed, we have no desire to do that. Like literally no desire. Like we will work with someone for a degree of time and be that healthy partner to work through things together as a team when each person is owning their part. Yes, that's one thing. But when you have healed and you have learned from yourself and your past and your mistakes, you will realize that anytime it gets to the point where you feel like you have to force someone to change their crazy, toxic, insane behaviors, like that is your own disease. That is your own toxicity at play. And I know there are women that would hear me say this and think that that is victim blaming. That just means you're in your victim consciousness, period. And I think we've all been there, right? Myself included. And so I don't say anything here on this podcast that I haven't had to be honest with myself about on my own journey. And it's walking the walk of, we have to take 100% ownership for our role and our patterns and our themes that show up in multiple relationships or long-term relationships. We must take ownership, 100% responsibility for ourselves, and not use another person as a distraction for the work that we need to be doing. Instead, we point the finger outward. If only he did this, if only he did that, then I would be happy, then I'd this, and I'd be that, and on and on. That's not taking ownership. That's not taking responsibility. And so we must realize that we too need help, that we really need help with the situation that we found ourselves in. If we cannot find our way out on our own through free stuff, YouTube videos, podcasts, then, if you've spent several months or more trying to do that, and it's not leading you anywhere, then you have deeper work to do, right? I've heard some women say that they were able to get out of one of these relationships just from my podcast alone or my emails. I've gotten messages and have heard this. And so these women were already at a point where they just needed that extra push or that extra clarity or that extra, education around it to go, yeah, okay, and I know what I need to do. And it is also these women that have success in other areas of their lives. They have a successful career. They're high up in their field or in the hierarchy of a company or their business. So they have other things going for them, which makes it much easier to pull yourself out of these situations. Doesn't mean that it is easy for everyone, because I've certainly worked with many women in these places that spent a long time trying to get out of a relationship like this as well. So that's not true across the board. So how do you know that you fall into this category of being a relationship-centric woman? And how do you know when it's healthy or unhealthy? Because obviously when we have an intimate relationship, it is up there on the high priority of our list, right? So how do you know when it's gotten into unhealthy or toxic territory? Well, number one, it becomes the sole focus of everything that you do, right? And I know that is part of the narcissistic abuse trap, is that it becomes the thing that takes over your mind. You can be sitting doing just about anything, but you're constantly distracted at work or wherever you are with kids or whatever you're doing with friends, because it takes over your mind, or we allow it to, right? We don't have enough of our own stuff going on. We're not working toward our own stuff. Once we get to that threshold and we move through that, it becomes much easier to keep going. But until you get to that place of clarity, then you spend a lot of time really just ruminating and thinking and processing what is going on. The second is that you think that you need a man or a relationship to have security, that it's a false sense of security, but you think that they're your security, whether financial or otherwise. So you continue to seek that relationship connection so that you can feel secure and happy or complete. But we need to make sure that we are complete within a relationship, or it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you are perfectly healed before you get into a relationship, but it also means that you get into a relationship, you don't drop all of that stuff. You keep doing those things that you need to do to balance your life and have more going on than just trying to have a relationship or date or get into a relationship. And realizing that a lot of times relationships, getting into them when we are not in a healthy place, they're just a really handy form of avoidance and distraction from the work that we actually need to do, or the pain that we're feeling, or whatever's going on in our lives. And it's really hard to start a relationship or be in a relationship when that is going on. It's not impossible, but it's definitely harder when there's lots of turbulence and stuff going on in your life that's not going well. Granted, sometimes we meet someone when everything is going to hell, and that's part of the relationship bond that's started, as long as there's no trauma and toxicity going on in that relationship. So you need to do your own work, have your own life, have your own goals, have your own self-care and your own things that you enjoy that you continue to do, whether you're in a relationship or not. The other thing is that women will hang the responsibility of their happiness on a man, on a partner. And they will totally lose all sense of self-awareness, trust in their own feelings when they see that something is really unhealthy. They question themselves first before they're going to question the other person. And it can just be the craziest things that women tolerate, because they rather have that than be alone. Or another thing I see is women early in relationships or dating, and they are ready to put a full-on commitment on someone they've just met and have spent a few weeks or a month having some dates with. And they're posting in Facebook groups these long drawn out drama posts of what's going on with this guy that's ignoring them or canceling every other date and flaking out, and then telling her she's too sensitive, that she's upset, or that she's making a big deal out of nothing. It's just crazy, the stuff that we tolerate. We have to see our own sickness in this. It really is I think that there are just as many unhealthy women as there are unhealthy men. We have to take our own responsibility for what we tolerate, for what we put up with, for what we're posting in free Facebook groups, hoping to get answers to things that are deeply embedded psychological, emotional wounds that we need to look at, so that we're not wondering, why am I tolerating all this toxic behavior? Why is this toxic stuff going on? Why is this guy doing this and that and the other thing? Instead of going, why am I sticking around for this? That's the question we need to ask. And there's a lot of this, so many narcissists and so many this and that. Well, there's so many women in these relationships, And so we have to say, okay, so there is equally a toxic woman in this relationship. So as many as there are narcissists, there is as many women who are willing to tolerate toxic behavior because they're not healed either. So we must stop pointing the finger. We can't keep doing that. We can't grow. And you hear it a lot. Oh, there's narcissists everywhere. I'll never date again. You have to get yourself right in such a way that you can self-trust that if something you were doing suddenly was not feeling right and something was going wrong, that you would eject and out you would go. You don't have that fear necessarily when you've built that inner safety. It doesn't mean there won't be triggers and things, but you have that inner safety to know that no matter what, I've come out of one, I can definitely do it again. And you have that inner safety and self-trust. So it really is about owning our own toxic patterns. Instead of pointing the finger outward, realizing that we need to heal ourselves and be in a better place before we try to enter into another relationship. All right, so that is the quickie episode I wanted to chat with you about today, and I hope that it has served you and there's something in that has shaken you awake enough to go, right, that makes sense. I need to start doing my own inner work. I need to start focusing on me, not on a relationship, not on any relationship or getting into a relationship or fixing the one that you're in. If you're ready to heal from these patterns and once and for all stop getting sucked into relationships that create so much chaos and stress in your life, you need to heal yourself. You can get all access to everything I've ever created on knowing the cycle, healing, breaking the cycle, boundaries, and leaving a narcissistic relationship inside of my Love Rehab All Access Pass. This is an access pass to everything I've ever created on the topic in my programs on narcissistic abuse awareness, navigating narcissistic abuse in a relationship, and exiting one of these relationships. So you're guided through the whole process. Check out the link in the show notes or on my website, Leanneoten.com, under self-help courses. All right, I'll chat with you in the next episode. Take good care. Bye for now.